What's up, guys? Today I'm going to show you two more ways to really make your music sound freaking awesome, and they're pretty fancy. Buckle in, because today we are going to be learning about suspensions and negative harmony. And I'll actually show you examples of these so you can listen to them for yourself. But before we start, please like and subscribe to this channel so that way we can give more free music lessons to more people. Let's get to it. First, suspensions. Suspensions are a great way to build tension and resolution in a very short period of time. Tension and resolution are really what you're trying to do when you compose, like in general. Now, what do they sound like? Well, normally a chord progression may sound like this. But if we turn that into suspension, you'll notice there's a little bit more character to it. Let's give it a listen. So how do you make this? Well, a suspension only needs three things: a preparation, a suspension, and a resolution. So let's dive into each of these. Now first, the preparation. All that is a chord tone note that's in the first chord of the suspension. So if we look at this example, we notice that we have F major, which then goes into C major. Now, as a reminder, F major is made up of three notes, which are F, A, and C. So you notice we have A in the bass, C and F in the middle, and then A again at the top. C major is made up of C, E, and G, and we have those notes here. We have G in the bass, C and E in the middle. I should actually extend that. And then G again in the octave. Cool. So the preparation note in this example is this A right here. Why? Well, because it's a consonant note in the first chord. It's A. It becomes then the suspension, which is now the second part, right when the other voices, see how these three change? These other voices now go into C major. So we have G, C, and E. But we still have A that carries over into this chord. But A is not a part of C major. It's a non-chord tone in this example. So again, it prepares by being a chord tone in our F major, but it continues to linger on while the rest of the notes change voices and therefore becomes a non-chord. It's suspended. It creates suspension. It then becomes a resolution when this A steps down to become G, and G is in C major. Again, C major has C, E, and G. So in this example, and we're only looking at this top note here, we have the preparation, the suspension, and then the resolution. And you can hear that suspension. Hear that? Like, it sounds dissonant here. It's not so apparent when I play the whole thing just because it dies down. That wants to go here all together. All together. Preparation, suspension, resolution. There you go. So now let's dive into the nomenclature of these. You may have heard terms like a 9/8 suspension, a 7/6 suspension, things of that nature. Well, all it is it's stating the interval between the suspended note and the resolved note to the bass note. So in this example, we have a 9/8 suspension. Our bass note is G, and the C major, the bass note is G. The suspended note is A, so that is an interval of 9, and then that A drops down to G, which is an octave, which is 8. So this is a 9/8 suspension. Over here, we have, let's see. So here's our first chord. Our suspension is this one here. Suspensions go down, always. There's a version that goes up, we'll get into that in a second. But here's our suspended note. We have B, it goes to A, and the bass note is C. So we're moving from what we got? G, B, D, we have G major. We have A minor. We have A, C, E here. So G major to A minor. So if here's C, our suspended note being here is B, so that's a 7, and then it goes to A, which is a 6 to C. So this is a 7/6 suspension. It's probably going to sound a little bit different than that 9/8 we just went over. Now what's really cool is you can chain suspensions together like I did right here. Here's what it sounds like. So right here we chained them. I believe this is a 4/3, but let's double check. So our bass note's all the way down here. It's an E, and we go from A to G, which would make this a 4/3 suspension. Yep, so we go from 7/6, here's our 7/6, and then we go into 4/3 here. And then we resolve back to C major. Let's listen to it again. Awesome. Now what happens if you go upwards in a suspension like we have in this example? Well, this is called a retardation, and it's the same nomenclature, right? You're going from preparation, suspension to resolution, and we're looking at it in relation to the bass. So we have C to B, this is 7, and we go C to C, this is 8. So we have a 7/8 retardation. There you have it. That's suspensions. Okay, now let's get into negative harmony, which is like one of my favorite things to do. Negative harmony, have you ever watched The Fairly Odd Parents and you have Cosmo and anti-Cosmo and Wanda and anti-Wanda, like they're the same character, but they're polar opposites of each other, but they're still like, they're the same thing. That's kind of what negative harmony does. It throws your tonal center around in these really cool ways. Anyway, let's get into it. I have examples. You'll be able to hear them back to back. But first we have to discover and discuss how this works. So, going to the circle of fifths. Here is our circle of fifths. Negative harmony actually really isn't as difficult as it sounds, but it's a really neat trick. Check it out. So all you do is, let's say we're in the key of C as all of our examples. From there, you cut the circle of fifths in half. And then whatever notes are in a chord that you're playing, you just go to the exact opposite side of the circle of fifths. So if I'm playing C major, the negative harmony version of that is we go C, G, E, D sharp, or E flat, and harmonically the same thing. And then G is C again. So the negative version of C major is we have G, E flat, C, we rearrange them, it's just C minor. Now these get really crazy with like seventh chords. So let's say we have, being in the key of C, this is important. Let's say we're gonna play a chord outside of C major, but we're still gonna stay as C being the tonal center. We're going atonal right now. Let's do F sharp minor 7, add 9. I know we're getting crazy. That would include the notes. Well, we have F sharp minor, so it'd be F sharp, A, and C. The 7, it's a minor 7, so that would make it E. And then the add 9 is we're doing, let's see, F sharp, G, G sharp, but an octave up. So F sharp, minor 7, add 9. I have no idea what it sounds like, probably could sound ugly, but that's what it is. Here are the notes. So if I want to do this using C as our tonal center for negative harmony, I go F sharp, boom. We have C sharp. We go A, we have A sharp, C, we have G, E, we have D sharp or E flat, and we'll actually make enharmonic equivalents of these. And then G sharp becomes B. Wow, I have no idea what we would call this. I'd have to take a little while. So there's a million ways to interpret this chord. I'm going to go with E flat major minor 7 because we have E flat major, which is E flat, G, and B. We also have the minor in there, so we have the B flat, so it could be E flat major and E flat minor at the same time, which are really weird sounding chords. And then we also have the minor 7, or the Dom 7 because it's major and minor. So I'm just going to call it minor 7. So E flat major minor 7. That's what this is from F sharp minor 7 add 9. Cool. That's how you make these chords. Now, what do they sound like? Let's give it a listen. So in this first example, I just have a regular chord progression using seventh chords. It goes from C major 7 to A minor 7 to B half diminished to G7 to C. Then I made the negative harmony version of it, which is a C minor 6, E flat major 6, D diminished 6, A flat major, and then C minor. They sound similar, but this one just has like a different twist to it, but they're related. We'll hear them back to back. And for fun, I actually wrote them alternating chords. So I did C major 7, then C minor 6, then A minor 7, then E flat major 6, yada yada, and just went back and forth, back and forth. And I thought it sounded really cool. So there you have it. That's negative harmony. It's a really great way to get some very jazzy, weird, ethereal chords that honestly, it's very hard for me to think of without going through that process. So there you have it. Suspensions, negative harmony, two pretty complex ways to add some harmonic tension to your pieces. Go ahead and give them a try. Your homework, as always, is to experiment with them. Take a chord progression, try turning it into a suspension, try turning it into negative harmony, and then put that back into your piece and see how it feels. Also keep in mind, with negative harmony, you can do that with melodies too. The same thing that we did with picking out the notes that go into the chords, you can also do by looking at your melody and then what's the negative melody version of that. That's it. So again, homework, experiment with suspensions, experiment with negative harmony, and I will see you in the next class. Again, please like and subscribe to this class, teaching you guys a lot of theory, a lot of songwriting, arranging, production, mixing, mastering to create a professional orchestral score using free software. And this class is free. So literally there's no barrier of entry besides just watching me yammer on for hours on end. So see you in the next class. Take care.